Senator Marco Rubio. Good morning, Senator.
Hey, good morning.
Thanks for joining us today. You are in the Florida Keys today. You've got a whirlwind tour. Give us a rundown. What are you doing today?
Well, we're going to look at a couple things that we're concerned about coming back from the hurricane. One that I still think needs more attention is affordable housing. A lot of the housing stock, especially down south, that were destroyed. We're always concerned that the highest and best use of that land is going to be something larger, more expensive, and that's just not somewhere that people that work down there can live in. So just closely monitoring to make sure that these federal, what they call community block grant funds that are dispersed are going to the areas that need that sort of help to get that kind of housing put in place. In the budget bill we passed a couple weeks ago, it expanded the low-income housing tax credit, which is going to increase the money for the development of affordable housing units. And so, we've been in touch about that. And then, of course, there's a lot of concern about the reimbursements from FEMA. As always, we're just kind of want to make sure that money is flowing in a timely way. There's been this problem in the past with what they call deobligation, where FEMA comes back like 6 years later and says, hey, you made a mistake on your application. You got to send us back $1 million, and the local community doesn't have it. So now everyone's scrambling. So it's a three-step process. FEMA approves it. Number two, they send it to the state's emergency operation department, and then the state sends it to the local level. And that's one of the places we've seen some delay because the state wants to make sure that, the monies that the projects and all that are appropriate so they don't face that situation in a few years with the obligation.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, a lot of homeowners are still facing rebuilding costs, and I heard from one of our listeners who said that they had a contracted price for a new metal roof, and the contractor came back to him and said, I've got to charge you another $1,300 because of the president's tariffs on aluminum and steel. This is hitting the ground here.
Yeah, and I would say two things about that. That sounds like something someone made up. That just that hasn't happened yet. The truth is the president suspended the tariffs on basically the largest countries that were importing. So it was more to get people to the table. So I would encourage them. They had a contract. Unless there's some provision in the contract that allows them to come back and reprice it because of material costs, that's an enforceable contract, and that's a price they got to meet. And that's the first I hear of it. That could happen someday down the road if the tariffs fully hit, but those prices haven't hit the marketplace yet. That just doesn't sound right to me. And if they got a contract, they should force them to live by it.
Okay. Meanwhile, you've got that roundtable discussion in Marathon today. What do you expect to see there?
Well, obviously there'll be a lot of questions about some of the things that we've discussed earlier already, and that is what's going on with the FEMA reimbursements and some of that. But also we want to listen. We want to hear what are the issues that you're facing down there and that perhaps aren't getting enough attention. We've focused a lot on what are the things that you need to get the economy back. We got to get marine debris removed so that people are going to want to come back and stay in these places, especially now as we, unfortunately hit in the middle of snowbird season. So we've been working through that, but going into next year, we want to make sure that happens. We want to make sure the communities are being reimbursed as they get closer to their budget cycle here in October. We want to make sure that that's happening. And then, some of the long-term issues regarding the housing and the workforce housing in particular. I mean, there's people that's got to be able to live. The people who work there have to have places where they can live. And we got to make sure there's funds available for that reconstruction to happen for housing units that people can afford.
Okay. Well, Senator, anything else that you want to bring up for our listeners here in the Keys?
Long term, one of the things that we're more concerned about, I spent a lot of time down there, is water quality. The Everglades feeds everything, and so we're pushing real hard here, not just to get the funding, but to make sure we don't fall behind on the Everglades restoration effort.
Okay.
More clean water into the Everglades. So that's something we're going to be seeing a lot in the months and years to come.
All right. Well, Senator Marco Rubio, thanks for joining us. As always, we appreciate it. Anytime you want to get on the air with us, you just let us know.
We'll do it. Thank you for having me on again.
Take care. Bye now.